can't overstate the co-founder piece and putting together a squad.
How are you thinking about sort of keeping that intimacy and that community and keeping it into a safe space?
I'm doing this regardless. If I don't raise a cent, I'm going to make something. Who's disciplined, who has the imagination, and who can just stick with it and understand people and real problems. You can literally describe to a machine what you want to make, and it will do so now, almost instantaneously.
ChatGPT and I are really good friends.
The city's up. We appreciate you guys making it out here on a Tuesday evening. Summertime vibes, LA. A lot happening right now, so for everyone to come out, it's packed in here, it's popping. House of Kakate, thank you for hosting us. So yeah, we just want to show you guys love. We're gonna have a great interview with Phonz today, and just wanted to check the temperature. Who made it out to the Ken and Friends this Juneteenth? Nobody? Okay. Popping out. How we feel about JJ Redick, Lakers' new head coach? All right, we go. How do we feel about Spill in their first year anniversary? Let's get it. So my name is Kenny Wilson. Got the team here, the big three, Austin Josiah, and we got Justin Rufon Blanchette. And so we started Breaking Bread last year. This is our 5th event going forward right now. And again, the biggest thing that we've been looking forward to is just community and really the unity and trying to bring everything together for sports, media, and tech. And so being able to create a shared space for everyone to come together, be able to build and create something that's pretty special out here in LA. Today, again, like I said, our speaker is going to be Phonz Terrell, CEO. Let me go ahead and go through his background real quick. So Phonz, co-founder, CEO of Spill, next generation platform focused on community and innovation. Released in mid-2023, the Spill beta app shot up to the top of the Apple Store charts with over 200,000 plus downloads in the first month, becoming the #1 most downloaded social networking app in July of 2023. The app was recently named Apple's App of the Day, and Spill was named as one of Fast Company's most innovative companies in social media in 2024. Previously, Phonz led award-winning social marketing and content teams at Twitter, HBO, Showtime, Sony Music. A sought-after speaker, techno-culture evangelist, Phonz has been a guest on Good Morning America, Roland Martin, Cheddar News, a featured speaker at South by Southwest, Afrotech, Adweek, and a guest on podcasts such as Fast Company's Most Innovative Companies, Wall Street Journal, Journal Tech News Briefing, and NPR's Morning Edition. In 2023, Phonz was named to CNN Business's 2023 Risk Takers list alongside Sam Altman, Tim Cook, Telfar Clemens, and Lena Khan. Give some love to our special guest today, Phonz Terrell.
Well, first off, Phonz, thank you so much for taking the time to being here today. It's an incredible honor, especially here at the House of Coquette. As Kenny already mentioned, it's amazing to see all of you beautiful people in the house tonight, especially on a Tuesday evening. I'm trying to start a tradition here where I ask this first question, which is, what is a music, lyric, or movie line that you live by?
Gotta put it on the spot. Okay. Let me not try and sing in front of all y'all, because that's not really what I do. But first, before I get into that, can we just make some noise for the Breaking Bread crew? This is amazing. It's our first time here. In many ways, this is like a physical representation of what we're trying to create on Spill. So we really appreciate you guys, and thank you for having us. Song that I'm, been living by for the past 2-3 years. We got any Victoria Monet fans in here? All right, I wrote this down because I don't want to mess her lyrics up. Some of y'all might know she got a song called Moment, which has some connotations that you might not think are connected to being an entrepreneur, but she says, life is but a dream that you manifested slowly, so fuck a fantasy. This is your motherfucking moment. That's my line.
I like it. That's what's up. So as we already know, Kenny already gave you sort of an overview of Phonz's background, but I think just to kind of dig a little deeper, who is Phonz Terrell, and what is your mission? We
doing public therapy here, so I'll try not to go too too crazy on that. I mean, I think at my basis, you know, I've just always been a person that really loved, you know, building connections with other people, especially because of my background, right? Where I'm straddling a lot of different cultures, a lot of different worlds, a lot of different regions. And, you know, we live in a country, and especially right now, where, you know, it's tough, right? It's tough to connect. It's tough to find your tribe, find your people, and to do it in a way where you feel really warmly welcomed, right, and safe, right? And that's been a big theme, not just with Spill, but with a lot of things that I've, you know, kind of experienced growing up. And for those that are looking at me and are like, what is he? Because I know I get that question a lot. My mother's Italian and Irish, my father's black, and I actually didn't meet my father until I was 20 years old. My parents split when I was very young, and so connecting to, you know, the African American quote unquote community or black community for me is much deeper than just, you know, let's go out and turn up and whatever. You know, it's been soul mission to really put all those pieces together, and I think realizing that that kind of experience is not unique, especially in this country. We're all trying to find and put together different pieces of our background, I think has been really wonderful, you know, to realize throughout this process. So I've always just been really passionate about culture and sports. I know you guys have a big sports component. I started out playing basketball. That was actually my first love and dream way before I got into, you know, creativity and music and entrepreneurship. So I could go on, but that's me.
That's dope. That's dope. Going into that sort of like that time period of you sort of like meeting your father, building that relationship, how do you feel like that has sort of led to like what you have built now at Spill and your sort of journey to get there?
Check. Yeah, I think, you know, can I get vulnerable with y'all? We in here, we're a room full of family. I'm gonna tell y'all some real shit. Okay, so I met my father when I was 20, and my parents were not on good terms, so I had to do this entirely on my own. And you know, just to keep it a buck, I was born in Durham, North Carolina. I don't know if we have anybody from the South in here. Okay, doesn't mean I support JJ Redick by any means, but I was born in Durham. And you know, the South, and especially, you know, black culture in the South, my father was a Baptist preacher. And so, you know, when I finally met him for the first time, I'll skip a very long story and try and get to the point. It was kind of one of those wild things where, like, even if you don't have a parent in your life, there's so much about you that is so reflected in them. And I could see it, like he would walk down the street, you know, he's just a walking ass dude, you know, just like walking to the McDonald's and chatting up to, the counter girls and being like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh my God, that's where it came from. It's his fault. It's his fault. But I think the other thing that was really powerful about it too was, you know, I was kind of hoping for this like Antoine Fisher moment, right? Where I come, me, my black family, we got yams and greens and, you know, grits with the sugar or the salt. We can argue about it later. And it wasn't like that at all. You know, that side of my family is really strained and really, you know, just going through a lot of struggles. I found out I have a half sister that's almost as old as my mother. And I didn't actually get to meet her until about 6-7 years ago because of the personal struggles she was going through. People didn't trust each other. You know, people were very suspicious of, you know, ulterior motives. So it was really tough to try and just like, you know, make those connections. And so that was really, again, a powerful experience for me that I tried to nurture for almost 20 years. You know, I would go down there every single year and I would get another little piece. You know, I'll meet this auntie over here. She had a little nugget. You know, this unc over here. He had one, you know, hundreds of cousins, literally. And it was amazing because, you know, up until 3 years ago, it was just those little bits and pieces. And my father, I had just actually moved to LA. It's my first week in LA. My father got diagnosed with COVID. This is 2021, and he was not in good shape to begin with. Okay, dance break. Not the soundtrack for that moment I would have chose, but okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Everyone can hear me? All right, cool. So I moved to North Carolina for 6 months to take care of my father and actually help him with his transition, from, this world into the next. And that was the most time we ever spent together. And that experience, I'm sure everybody in here has probably lost someone that's close to them. It puts a couple things in perspective, right? First, we don't have all the time in the world. Like, life is precious. Every single moment is precious. And if there's something in you and you gotta go do it. Like, not tomorrow, now. That was the first thing that came out of it. And then the second thing was kind of this reverence. Like, at the time I was working at a company that used to be called Twitter. I don't know what she's called now. I call it what her daddy called it. But, I was just like, some of this stuff that I was so obsessed with and worried about seemed very trivial. And I was like, I think I can do more. I think I can contribute more. And I'm in a position where I might be able to do that. I didn't know what it was. And so fast forward to, a year and a half ago, I know I'm droning on. I hope everybody not bored. Daddy was a preacher. I told you I can go. It's going to go. But fast forward to November 2022, this pasty South African dude took over the company, laid half the company off. I feel like I might have one or two ex-Twitter folks in here. We got anybody back there? I think I saw one. A few. They know, survivors. And two things happened to me in that moment. I was just like, that experience with my father and everything, it kind of teed it up, where it was just like, one, it's time to build, right? And to put it in context, I'm not a technical founder. I didn't grow up writing code or any of this, so this is new. But I was like,
question too.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. I was like, it's time to build. And then the second thing was, if this dude could buy this company and know nothing about social media or how that works, let alone clearly doesn't even care for people, right? Oh, we could definitely do this. Because we know this, we are this. Everybody in this room is this. And so it was just the only difference between him and me or anybody else was audacity. And so that's what it really amounted to for me.
Yeah, I was waiting for the... We're definitely going to get into the audacity for sure of you sort of starting Spill, but I don't want to jump over really quickly your route to Spill. So you worked over at Showtime, HBO, and then obviously at Twitter. Just give us a sense of what that journey was like and how you got to the point where you were saying, okay, it's time for me to start something on my own.
Yeah, I think we got some hustlers in the house, right? Some startup founders and people aspiring. Yeah, okay.
Only one hustler? What's that?
No, the real ones is over there eating up right now. They're hungry, right? I get it. No, I think it really goes back to, so when I was in school, I played basketball in college for my freshman year. Thought it was going to be my dream. Hated it, actually, which was so sad, because it's you're playing your whole life and you're like, this is going to be great. And I was like, this is, we suck and I'm at the end of the bench and this isn't sexy at all. I don't want to be a part of this at all. But I ended up, this is actually just before I met my father. This was a couple months before I decided to do that. So I quit the team, went and met my father, and right after that, I started a record label for the students at my school at the time. And I had no shit about record label or whatever. I was just like, oh, we're gonna, same thing, let's do this. And just things started happening. We raised $50,000 and we were getting meetings with Universal. This is I'm gonna age myself, but Napster and all these things were happening, and they were like, oh, the college kids are killing us. Maybe they have the answer. So, all these things started happening. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't want to do business or startup stuff, but this is actually really fun. So I think the seeds of it have been in my life for quite some time. But when I, really started digging into the career piece, and I think this is the lesson, if anybody is kind of wanting to start something but not sure what it is, sometimes it's the thing that you are annoyed by the most, or you just might happen to be good at it, that is your ticket to like actually your dream. So I was, I think I was like running my own consultant thing. I really wanted to be a music producer. You can see how I hold this mic. I'm a really frustrated rapper. Like that's really what I am. That's how I should have answered the first question. So I really felt like, okay, I want to do this music thing, but I got to do some side hustles. And I got a call from CBS. They had a new show at the time, NCIS Los Angeles, ironically, with
I love that show,
LL Cool J. And CBS was all white, and they were like, we don't know how to access his audience. Could you help us? I was like, sure, cut the check. And they were like, no problem. We got that. And it was eye-opening because it was like the levels of resources that they had were, beyond what I had imagined. But that experience of like, connecting with, communities and using culture to do it and all of that really started opening the door to what eventually led me to Showtime. CBS owns Showtime. And they were like, after the gig, they were like, cool, we have this job. It's called social media. This is very new at the time. I was like, cool, I don't know what that is, but I can figure that out. And I didn't love social media, to be honest, at first. I felt like I didn't understand it. There weren't a lot of people like us in it at the time. But, I stuck with it, and I think really understanding how communities and culture and, storytelling really connect was a game changer for me. And that really elevated when I got to HBO. So I don't know if we have any Insecure fans in the house. Do we have any Game of Thrones fans in the house? Yeah. More specifically, were you on Twitter with Dem Thrones and all of that? Make some noise if you was in Black Twitter watching Game of Thrones together, because that was a whole other show. That experience changed everything for me, because I was like, oh, there's one thing to watch the show. There's another thing to watch the show and be on Twitter and be on these other things, especially, and you're making memes and the culture and everything. And I was like, that's dope. That's special. And anyway, I just started really getting into it and mastering that. And again, I'm going to try and move quickly to the next point so we can give you guys some gems that are useful. But the point is, HBO mastering Twitter led me to become the head of social media for Twitter, the brand, which was an insane job because we basically were like a 30-person team spread out all over the world, US, UK, Japan, West Africa, India. And our job was really to just work with the biggest creators, the biggest artists, the biggest conversations and everything to highlight the best of what was going on the platform. It was like running a global newsroom 24/7 every single day. And so I could understand how when you look at like who really moves culture, when I'm talking about the new trends, the new lexicon, the new dances, every little meme you ever thought was cool, it's always coming from the communities that come to these platforms, not because it's like cool and fun, but because they are desperate to find a community that reflects themselves and they can't find it in their real life. So that's always us. It's the Black community, especially Black women, run Black Twitter. Full stop. Everybody, if you don't know, you should know, full stop. Right? The queer community, especially, right? Like, and when you go around the world, it's kind of the same patterns. You go to India, right? It's like women are not given the voice in popular culture that they should have. So they're the ones that run social, right? They're on that every day, setting the trend, same thing. So that insight really is what ended up powering Spill. I was like, who's building for these communities? Like not like as an afterthought, but like who's really building for these communities? And anyway, I'll go on and on, but I'll stop there.
No, that was dope. That was dope. And I think that, give it up. And I think that was my next question in regards to like what inspired you to sort of build this platform for culture drivers like Black women, the queer community, other marginalized groups. But I think you sort of alluded to it already, what that looks like. I'm curious, you mentioned the Black Twitter. What were your thoughts on the Black Twitter series on Hulu?
Yeah, I'll get to the Black Twitter series in a second. I think the one thing I want to, highlight too, like for anybody that's worked at big tech or whatever, right? Typically, if you're Black or you're queer or you're a woman, you are in the vast minority, right, of your organization, right? And a lot of decisions are being made that affect millions and millions of people that don't, without rooms that really represent those communities. So not only like are our communities driving all the culture, but it's actually super sadistic because we also get the lion's share of hate speech and abuse. So the people that spend the most time are getting the most hate consistently. And if you talk about the queer community, 2 out of every 3 queer people online are going to experience some form of hate speech or abuse this year. 2 out of 3. If that was happening in real life, people would be in jail. Same thing with the black community, same thing with the Muslim community. We tolerate things that we would never tolerate in physical spaces. It's ridiculous. And then we wonder why these teenage kids are like committing suicide and having all this like mental trauma and damage. And every platform knows it. We all know that now, right? It took a couple whistleblowers, and shout out to them. But we didn't need the whistleblowers in our community. We knew that. So who's solving for those problems? That's the whole point of the startup ecosystem. You see a problem, go after it, especially if it's a tough one. So that's really where it was like, okay, you're gonna fire me, guess what? This is gonna be a great opportunity for us to flip the script. It's time to change shit. So that's really where Spill came from.
If I could double back on that too, so I think a lot of us have probably seen these problems happening in society, whether it's through social media or other forums. But I'd love to hear about the point in which you realize, okay, I'm actually going to be the one to try and help solve this problem.
Yeah, I think there was two things that really burned a neural pathway in my brain. I think the first experience was when George Floyd passed, right? My father's name was George. Legally, my first name is George. God, I can't believe I admitted that. Anyway, but it was really, personal because we're watching this black man get murdered over and over and over again on our phones. And it took that death to make corporate America suddenly, oh, we gotta get a D&I, suddenly, like it took death. And that really bothered me for a long ass time because there was such a shift. I think anybody that was working at a big corporation knows and had that similar experience, right? If you were black, it was like suddenly you're the expert on all black things in your org. It's like, we really want to hear from you, all this kind of stuff, right? And so that really struck me. I was like, why did it take a death to suddenly point out this issue that's been going on forever? And then the second thing that really stuck with me was the hate against the Asian community, where the Stop Asian Hate was in response to literally people getting jumped, like old women getting jumped and abused on the street off of some, instigation, from the leadership at the time, right? And nothing was done about it on the platforms. Truly, I was just like, ugh. How can you look at that? And the truth is, right, like there's probably a lot of brilliant technologists in this room or whatever. A lot of this is about will. If it's a priority for the leadership, it will happen. That's how innovation happens. When we say this is important, things get invented, right? We didn't, you didn't care about a large language model, a year and a half ago until somebody was like, no, we're gonna put this out, right? So anyway, all that said to say, that's when I knew, and I think I've been so encouraged to see that will, that determination, and shout out, we're live streaming on Spill right now, so shout out to everybody who's watching on Spill. You guys have done an amazing job setting a tone on our platform that says, all right, first and foremost, we can set our guidelines, we can have our technology, but it's actually the community that's the best, enforcer of all that. Like you ain't gonna win on Spill if you come on like that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think one of the things I was trying to get a better understanding from you too is like, what was the process like for you to sort of, you're gonna build this product, how do you build the product, how do you build the team, how do you raise the capital? And then my second question after that is like, you're raising this capital. What were the challenges behind raising capital? the good and the bad, you know, in regards to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to keep it 100% honest, so nobody has any illusions in this room. The whole game of raising capital is about relationships, right? Truly. So like the best thing, you know, what you guys are doing here with Breaking Bread, all of this other stuff, that's how this whole ecosystem works. It's not because somebody is like magically smarter than you or anything like that. So for me, I'd never raised venture capital for a startup before. And the best decision I made was like, let me find the one brother who I know has done this before and ask him if he would partner with me on this. And so shout out to Devaris Brown, my co-founder. Devaris and I met at Twitter. We actually started on the same day at the same time. It was like us and one other black person in a room full of 150, and we were like, okay, we're gonna be homies. And we just nurtured a relationship, and so he was the first one to put the battery in my back years before Spill. He's like, bro, when you're ready, let me know. There's a blueprint for this. He's like, I've done it. You know, I think you're a CEO. Go, you know, when you're ready, let me know. And I hit him up literally the night I got fired, and I was like, so yeah, were you serious about that? And he was like, all right, let's go. So that was huge because I had a partner, and I think especially for any non-technical founders in the room, partner with technical founders. And I encourage technical founders to partner with non-technical founders because we need platforms that understand people, sales, revenue, and how to build the thing, right? And so I think, again, it started with the will and determination. I think I also stepped to Devaris and everybody at that time. I was like, I'm doing this regardless. If I don't raise a cent, I'm going to make something. If I have to get on WordPress and figure this out in HTML, you know, whatever, we are going to do this. You know, I'm going to figure this out. And I wasn't going to, you know, cut any corners to do so. So I think that determination matters when you step to people because they can tell, right? They can tell if it's like, this is a little side project, let me see if this works out, versus somebody that's betting their life on it, right? Because that's what, you know, VC really want. And then they also want you tackling a massive problem that could be a monstrous market, right? So for us, the process really started, even with all those connections, talking to VCs, whatever. Everybody was like, okay, cool, yeah, we trust Devaris, he's built stuff before. I don't know who this dude is, right? Who this like shiny head dude is, but like, okay, he worked at Twitter, maybe he might know something. And we really were struggling, not struggling, but just kind of like not getting to that, you know, yes, until it was just before Christmas. I think it was right after my birthday. And we had been talking about throwing up like a wait list, and I think the idea at the time was like you could reserve your spill handle in advance. We had seen this tactic work. So I'll also encourage everybody in the room, steal ideas. If it worked for somebody else, steal it for yourself. I promise you. Nobody cares. As long as the shit works, do it. Because we got that idea from a different platform. And when we put out that wait list, and thankfully, you know, this all happened really fast. I can't stress also that speed really matters. We had like 25,000 people sign up for this wait list in like 24 hours. And so to me, that's not going to happen to everybody, but what I do think was important was we didn't have funding, we didn't have a product screen. Literally, it was a Squarespace site, which is a bunch of words. Like you hear me talking now, imagine that on a Squarespace. Like it was not clear and overwhelming. And it was just like, reserve your handle, reserve your handle. It gave people a clear action that they could take, and man, it validated that people could at least recognize the problem the same way we saw it, and they wanted to get down and support. That was power. That was power. Like this room, if you got 100 people to go say, I'm gonna take this one simple action, and then you bring that to a VC conversation, now you start talking to them like in a language where they're like, they actually can make stuff happen. And that's right, that's what happened. So literally we put out this wait list, 25,000 people signed up in a day. We had our first check by the next week.
Holy
It's
shit.
rolling from there.
Give it up, give it up. I think you like lightly just put the 25,000 wait list. There's got it, like what do you feel like was a part of that instant sort of feeling of people wanting to be a part of this process and part of what you're building at Spill?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I learned working in social media is never let a good moment go to waste, right? So it was clear with the firing of everybody at Twitter, with the response to Elon, the way he was conducting himself, all of that, that people were upset, right? And I think I felt like at that moment, like, again, I wasn't the one with the engineering background, or I'm sure a lot of my former coworkers wouldn't have picked me to be the one to like go jump out there and do this. But like, again, this was something that I just felt. And understanding that moment, and it was the timing, I think it was all kind of understanding it was the right timing to put that out. So knowing that, like, understand your narrative, right? Like, understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. And it was like, okay, there's a new boss on Twitter, and there's clearly a villain story over here. We need a hero, right? We need somebody to, like, come in. And not that, like, I think I'm such a hero, but it was just like, it would be nice to have a counterweight to that. And I think a lot of people were scared to speak up at the time, too, because it was like, it's getting litigious and everything. And I was just like, life is short. Fuck it. Let's go. It's your motherfucking moment, right? Like Victoria Monet said. So that's I think what helped a lot of it.
Can you speak a little bit to sort of like the vulnerabilities and maybe insecurities you may or may not have had, since you did not have a technical background and you're maybe leaning on your partner to provide that, and you're building this tech platform? I'm sure there's people who may have had questions along the way as you were building it out. Like, what was that process like for you, both mentally and then physically out in the industry?
Yeah, I think for any non-technical founders in the room, I have good news. It's getting easier and easier for us, y'all. I think, at the moment, I think you can't, it's a journey of 1,000 steps, the whole Phil Jackson thing, right? Like, you can't eat an elephant all at once. You got to just like one piece a day type of thing. So I think the first thing is just committing to the process of like, okay, if you're building a tech company, what is tech? What is computer science? What are the basics? What are the fundamentals? Like, do some research. So like Harvard does their whole introductory computer science class online for free. I took that shit. I was just like, let me see what this is. Let's see how hard this really is. What are they really talking about? And it turned out it was like, okay, this is really fascinating, right? So it was little bits like that. But at the same time, I think the other piece was I needed, and I'll be my own harshest critic, to trust my partners, trust my team. And shout out to the Spill team, especially all our engineers who've been blitzing to build an incredible platform in a very short period of time. I come from the world where, if something blows up, if remember the Mike Pence debate where he had the fly on his head and they had a shirt or a fly swatter in the store that night, like, that's the world I come from, right? I was like, we got to be able to respond instantaneously. That's not quite how software is built, right? Like, software is like building an actual house. Like, once I got that through my head, I was like, oh, you got to pour concrete and let that concrete set. Otherwise, you're not going to have a house that's going to stand for very long. So I think, again, it was committing to the process, trusting my teammates, always trying to like keep the North Star and the vision high, but also like committing to myself. And, those closest to me know I like study every night. I encourage non-technical folks, download Brilliant. The app, Brilliant, it's really good, get you slanging some Python in no time, pause, and and it's really gonna help you understand what everybody's doing. But I think the future also of what's coming in the next 5 years, truly, and I know everybody's sick of talking about AI, but it's truly magical. Like, once you just get over the like psychological barrier, and that's really all it is, of like, oh, like, I'm not technical, I shouldn't, this, VS Code looks insane to me. Once you get over the hurdle of that, it's like, actually, this is a beautiful time to be non-technical. You can literally describe to a machine what you want to make, and it will do so now, almost instantaneously, and you can drive it absolutely crazy and will never bark back at you. You'll be like, I don't like this, change this. It'll throw you some more code. Like, It's amazing. We literally have like genie in the bottle superpowers now. So it's really going to come down to like who's disciplined, who has the imagination, and who can just stick with it and understand people and real problems that they can that they can solve with this. So it's really exciting time.
Yeah, I hear you on that. ChatGPT and I are really good friends. We often hear about having a seat at the table, but Spill seems to flip that model by building it its own. How is Spill working with creators to ensure they are properly attributed, compensated, and have a safe space to share their content?
Yeah, I think this, obviously I've said so much about why something like this, to me should have existed long ago, right? And I think it also should have been in the DNA of most of these platforms, but here we are. So I think, it starts with safety, right? First and foremost, you come on Spill, we don't mince words, and shout out to the illustrious Kenya Parham right here, who's our VP of Community and Partnerships, who literally wrote all of the community guidelines that we have on the platform. If you guys go to spill.com, community guidelines, I encourage the nerds out there to go in there. It's unlike any other platform. We name who we are protecting, right? If you are black, if you are queer, if you are, from a historically persecuted group, whatever, you are getting an advantage on Spill because it's not fair anywhere else. In fact, it's treacherous, right? So we say it with our chest. It really starts with that. I think the second thing is technology, right? Technology just flows out of the builder's will, right? You see how these platforms take on the personalities of the people that build them, for better or for worse, right? So out of that, we have been custom training, and shout out to our incredible Spill AI machine learning team of one. This guy is amazing. Edward, he has literally been building and custom training a large language model that's literally the first, I think, for safety and moderation that's trained with the communities that actually get the most hate. Like, nobody does that, but like, shouldn't it be obvious, right? So that's the technical piece. And then again, I mentioned it before, but I can't say this enough, the community, right? When the community is empowered, and how communities start matters so much. What you guys have built here, right? Like, everybody in this room is a reflection of y'all guys' intention, and the fact that people feel seen, cared for, heard, hopefully fed, all of that is part of that. So that's really what we have been seeing for the past year on Spill. And in terms of creators, this is what's to come, and I'll talk a little bit about it, but the first thing is really about credit, right? And so initially we were really excited about using blockchain, not to like create fake currencies necessarily, but like to create an immutable record of whatever is created on Spill that is indisputable for history. Like, that's the beauty of blockchain, is it's something that anybody can access and be like, yeah, that started there. Right? So if the Breaking Bread handle comes up with the next, hot two-step, I know one of your co-founders might bust it out right after this, and puts it on Spill. The idea is to say that wherever that goes, it started here, right? And attribute it to that creator. So that's part of that vision there. We're running into some challenges with blockchain because there's some limitations, but I'm confident we're going to get there. And then the second piece around compensation, we've already started doing as much as we can with partners in our advertising ecosystem. It's crazy, most platforms you'd expect them to be like, 2, 3, 4 years down the line before they start monetizing. But what blew my mind, especially coming from a marketing world, was like, brands wanted to work with us from day one. Like, literally, we launched the beta last June, and our first advertiser was Lionsgate Films. We had the blackening and the cast, and we actually flew creators to New York. They got to go to the premiere, make content, post it on Spill, meet the cast, do all of this. So it's part of that ethos, but that alone isn't going to solve it. It's really about building a sustainable system. So the vision is much more of, when you come to Spill, and again, we got to get this right, because most platforms have just abandoned ship on the creator thing. They're like, oh, this is too hectic, right? So we're taking our time to get it right, but the vision is, when an advertiser or partner comes to Spill, they don't even have to think about it. It's already going to surface the top creators in the vertical or interest that you care about, that are already talking about your product or something adjacent to it. And when they press, spend on that dollar, those top creators automatically get, rev shares built in. That's the vision. It shouldn't be this type of, like, to me, that should be normal. So that's what we're working on, and I believe we're going to get there, hopefully, first steps in about the next 6 months.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yes, I would be remiss if I did not shout out. So as part of the, we just crossed a year anniversary since we put out Spill, which is, felt like 20 years. And so we got a lot of requests for merch for Spill, and I, confess I was like, there's so many other things we got to work on besides merch. But we actually had a bunch of creators on the platform who were making like contraband Spill merch and like selling it, and we were like, guys, come on, like, we'll get to you. So finally, shout out again to the illustrious Kenya Parham. We looped back with a couple of these creators, and they've designed custom Spill merch for our anniversary. That's live now on shop.spill.com. So if you buy, shout out to LaFresh, Uncle Put, and everybody. If you buy one of those, you are supporting the creators on Spill as well.
Amazing. And there's some over here.
And we got some merch over here. The illustrious Kenya Parham, one more time. We'll take your order. Yes.
We appreciate you, Kenya. My final question, I guess, when it comes to about Spill is, as you look to continue to build out the platform, how are you thinking about sort of keeping that intimacy and that community and keeping it to a safe space as the numbers grow and the subscribers come in?
Yeah, I think we've had a wild experience because we didn't really get too much time with the product out there for it to kind of be like small and cozy and like gradually grow. Like I think we put the beta out June 12th-ish last year. And then like July 4th weekend, I don't know, Elon did something stupid and da-da-da-da-da. And we got discovered, and like literally 150,000 people joined in a weekend. It's like one of the most beautiful and horrifying weekends ever. And we literally, and I'm not exaggerating, we did not sleep for about 8 straight days because
Kenya's nodding her
there's
head.
a lot of things I've already cussed here, so I'll just keep it a buck. But some people are nasty online. Like we were worried about safety, like white supremacists and all this other stuff. And people are just nasty. Like they'd be up at 3 a.m. just doing crazy shit on my app. And I was like, God damn, put that away.
Never sleep.
So we had to innovate fast. But anyway, so it's hard to create an intimate community vibe. Maybe a little too intimate is actually what it was. So we've had to kind of deal with this city sort of from day one. So we've been kind of working hard almost to backtrack against that. So one of the things that I do, Kenya does, some of our other teams do, is we actually do one-on-ones with users, members, we like to call them, on Spill. We reach out to them if we see that they've been inactive, if they're super active, whatever. I try to do about 5 or 6 a week. I've done about 120 of these. Everybody gets a half hour, and we just sit down. We just ask them like 4 basic questions, like, how did you find out about Spill? What do you like? What do you hate? What sucks? And if you had a magic wand, what would you like us to build that would make this product useful for you every single day? And so I think that over time, right, there's no skipping steps in building community, even when it's technology. That over time and sort of deputizing and finding people who are also interested in doing that has gone a long way. So now we have this like beautiful ecosystem. There's Foodie Spill and Art Spill and the baddies of Spill and the zaddies of Spill and Face Card Friday. Is anybody on Spill, by the way? Do we have any like Spill folks? Yeah. There we go. Okay, so if you got to put everybody else in the room on. I want everybody to take a selfie tonight and post it on Friday, because Face Card Friday. And shout out to Big Baby Puffs and everybody who created that. There's just all these wonderful ways to connect, right? And so we have a feature called a tea party. Of course, we had to build a feature called a tea party, which is really, that's what we're live streaming into right now. So it's like an event that you can kind of schedule and people can go in. And then we just launched, I think it's up on the screen, right in time for Juneteenth, Spill Spades, which, we have, I'm trying to get out of this. We have a little bit of a bad habit of building like apps within our apps, it's like these whole worlds. But like, Spades is a game, right, that it's the ultimate if you know, right? And and I think especially in the black community, and I experienced this too, like if you don't know spades, and like y'all know how I grew up, so I like had to go find people who would teach me and not shame the shit out of me, right? And I think that's actually proven to be an experience for a lot of folks. So we built Spill Spades and launched it on Juneteenth, not just to create a place for people to connect on the tables and everything, but actually it's been a beautiful way for people to learn, right, to connect, and that's been another wonderful way to sort of build the connective tissue. So that's really what we're focused on, is just innovating different ways that we can really allow people to come together and find their tribe and just feel safe and have a blast.
Spill must be a real safe space, because anybody who's known playing spades at a barbecue, there's usually some roasting, some cutting.
Yeah.
So that's dope. That's dope.
I mean, they come for me though. I think I lost the game last night, and they were eating me up. It was fun.
So just sort of like reflections in future. What is the future sort of a black-owned media space, social media spaces, and where does Spill sort of fall in line with that?
Yeah, I think I have so many strong thoughts about this. I think the thing that, as I got deeper and deeper into this tech space, that we are missing, especially as, like black entrepreneurs, the statistics on how much funding we get are so depressing, right? But it's also just a reflection of the equity we have in this country, right? I think it's like less than 1% of all venture capital that goes out every year goes to black founders. And then talk about black women, it's a fraction of a fraction, right? We need to work together. We all need to share tools, share resources, share information. We have to work together. When you really study, if you're into the Peter Thiels and the, Reid Hoffmans and all of that, all these dudes know each other. They all know each other, and they might not even like each other.
PayPal Mafia.
They might, like PayPal Mafia and da-da-da-da and, YC and all this stuff. It's just clubs, and they're just sharing information, sharing resources. If somebody's company, they build something and it fails, oh, don't worry, buddy, I'll buy it for you. Make it look like you got a big exit and da-da-da-da-da, right? Like, that's it. It's like all inside baseball crony stuff, which is fine. That's your prerogative. We need our own inside baseball crony stuff, right? We need to be able to but we can't do it solo. We're not at this, scale and stage. So that's why, what you guys are doing, why I want to not just be here as a resource and talk about Spill, but really share the resources that we've accumulated in this journey and also learn from everybody else. That's the only way we're going to build a true ecosystem that changes just the generational direction and karma, especially of people of color in this country. So I think, again, shout out to what Isaac Hayes and fan base is doing. Shout out to any other black founders in, doing not just social media, but anything in consumers. Shout out to Sanj Laurence. Shout out to, Fearless Fund. Does everybody know about Fearless Fund and what bullshit that's going on with that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Right? This is my point, right? Literally a fund to fund black women who are the least funded group of entrepreneurs yet have started the most companies and have the strongest returns, shout out to Pinky Cole. Why would you shut that down? Are you kidding me? Do you hate money? What is wrong? If nothing else. Anyway, y'all got me on the soapbox. I got strong feelings. But the point is we really, really have to work together and support each other's projects. And that's what I want Spill to be, is a place where you can come and discover the next great startups and support them and be the part of the next 50,000 that signs up for the beta that gets someone their funding.
I love that. We're going to ask a final question to hear sort of your final thoughts. And after that, we're going to give the floor for folks if anybody wants to ask any questions to Phonz and the team. But it's basically just that. Any final thoughts or messages for aspiring entrepreneurs that are sort of looking to maybe grow and go on their own and start their own thing?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I am learning, when I came into Spill, and just my background, I'm really excited by big, shiny objects. Ooh, we're gonna build a social platform that solves racism, and everybody's gonna, it's incredible. And actually, getting into it, solving the problem that people really have a lot of times, like, isn't the problem you think you're solving when you go out there and you build something. Sometimes you'll just put something out just to learn, and it'll be like, actually, my problem is this. Actually, if you could do this for me, that would be everything. And it might be the most mundane thing, but I promise you, some of the most mundane shit is a gold mine, right? So do not ever slander any, expertise, domain expertise. If you're doing a mundane job, I promise you there's gold in a startup there. And that's what we're learning, and just appreciating the details. And then, yeah, the last thing I would leave it for all the hustlers in the room is just, stick together. I want to share this one thing that most founders don't talk about publicly, which is the mental health portion of this. Everybody thinks, you see some news articles or you're on a panel and it's like, oh, that one made it. It's so sexy. Oh my gosh. They made it to the rainbow. I promise you they haven't. I promise you they're going through something that's so deep and dark, right? And we got to talk to each other. Right after we launched this last year, we had that surge, and I mean, trending #1 on Twitter, #1 social app. I was like, it could not be sexier than this. And I got depressed. I went into a deep, 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 dark depression. I felt like the biggest fraud. I was like, this is bullshit. I started believing everybody who was calling me an Arab Mexican online. It was terrible, And the only thing that pulled me out of that was talking to other founders. So if there's any founders in the room, count me as a resource, truly. I'll give you my email, whatever, especially when it's dark. Don't pretend like you got it all figured out. Nobody does.
Everyone give it up for Phonz, yo. All right, Austin's gonna hand the mic around for any folks who have any questions.
Say your name and where you're from. You ask the question.
Hello, my name is Jabez. I am an activist here in Los Angeles, and I actually don't have a question. I really just wanted to thank you for sharing your story about the puzzle pieces of your intersectional identity and how you found them and found that to be empowering to create Spill, because that's the reason why I come to your app. That's the reason why I found the MX Thursday, the non-binary community of Spill, to be such a welcoming space. And I just wanted to say that by hearing from you that you still have those struggles that actually drive you to find solutions, it actually is encouraging to me as a founder. And I just wanted to say thank you for putting yourself through the ringer for all of us to enjoy this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. I think Jay's on Spill. Tell them your Spill handles so they can follow you. He got the good records for food.
Jaybezz, Jabez. That's my name.
Hey, thank you.
Follow J-Bed.
Hi everyone, my name is Kimberly Hill. I'm based in LA. And my question is around funding. I'm a black female. I used to be a founder, now I work in big tech. But I'm curious if you can share a little bit more around the specifics around fundraising. Like, how did you approach it? Because being a former founder, it's a mental game, right? It's a strategy. So can you talk about how you approached it? And like, how did you come back to it? Like, who did you talk to? How did you create that excitement around the round and things of that nature? Thank you.
Of course, yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I think every pitch has to start with is you have to be able to tell a good story about the problem in a way that pretty much anybody can understand. So you guys, you can hear, and it's real for me, right? Like, the hate speech shit really drives me insane. Like, it really just never sat with me. So I think the storytelling starts with articulating that way. There's all this advice about decks and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. But particularly if you're at an early stage, right? Like, if you're pre-seed essentially means you have no product, you may never have built a product before. What they're investing in is you. And you've heard this, right? And you've gone through this probably. So if you were going to invest in someone, right, what were the things you would look for, knowing, okay, this is a tough journey. And if someone's going to invest in you, it's not just like, let's see what happens this year. Real VCs are investing on a 5 to 10 year relationship basis. So, I mean, I didn't have a relationship longer than 4 years before I got into this shit. So I was like, this is, you know, close to a marriage, right? So you have to take it that seriously. 2 is know your domain. I think people believed in me because I had worked in social media for 15 years prior to doing Spill. So they're like, okay, even if he hasn't built something, he's probably seen and understood a lot and understand how this works from a consumer standpoint, right? And in many ways, most VCs like investing in founders who are building for themselves, right? Like, is this actually a product I could see this person using, or are they the target audience, right? It doesn't always have to be that, right? Like if you're in some obscure software as a service, you know, pitch, it might not be exactly that. But know your domain so cold, right, that they can't tell you anything, right? So that's number 2. I think 3, again, I can't overstate the co-founder piece and putting together a squad, like an all-star team. That really matters at early stages. And that should be like the second slide on every deck, right? Whatever the pitch is, if you're early stage, if you're pre-seed, seed, they're investing you as a team, right? And most importantly, like if you are the CEO, the founder, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what a CEO is, especially in an early stage company, right? Like it's not private jets, you know, sitting on panels and all this other stuff. You are there to get shit done. You are Captain Get Shit Done, right? And keep getting shit done and keep getting shit done. And they need to know that that's you, right? If that's how you're presenting yourself, who's in that role, right? So I think those are really the 3 basics, is be able to tell a great story about the problem, be a super, super deep domain expert on whatever the specific thing is. And honestly, the more specific, the better. You'd be amazed. I mean, you know, if you've gone through this process, but folks who may not have, it's like, you know, you could be like the foremost specialist on baby hair attention, you know, and like some white VC will be sitting there and he'll just be like, wow, I did not know the world of baby hairs and everything that went into it. And this part, you know, like that matters, right? Like you know your stuff so well. And then 3rd, just have an all-star team and be able to clearly delineate, you know, communicate, we get shit done. And I think if you can, by all means, go into pitches with some sort of prototype. We didn't. That's the one thing I think, you know, I would do differently if we were going at it again. Make something. WordPress, you know, sketch it, something. That goes so much further than just like, I have a dream, here's some slides. Hope that's helpful.
Hello. Can you hear me? I'm Carlton. I'm from North Carolina too, from Charlotte.
Hey, Cackalack gang.
Cackalack.
Take your shirt. No, don't do it.
That's the only thing we have, literally. I want to know, I work in TV as like a producer, and is there a plan for like original content on Spill? I see it happening a lot on Twitter where people are getting like podcast deals, and not to bring up Twitter, and I hope I didn't trigger you, but you know, a lot of social media sites are doing like original exclusive content. Is there a plan for that, and what is it, and how do people get involved?
Great question. Yeah, that versus thing, that was disappointing to hear. So the short answer is yes. I think when we, you know, all this really connects to how we build that ecosystem that I talked about, you know, for creators, because we don't want people to just kind of do sort of one-off deals and turn into a TV studio. That's kind of like the old school model. We want it to be like, here are the tools, here's, you know, how you get paid, and make it very clear. Go forth, and then you tell us what would help you, right? So we, you know, started off thinking more, like Spill was built essentially as a meme machine. And I was like, man, nobody rewards somebody who had the funniest meme that ends up on the front page of BuzzFeed or whatever it is like that. How dope would it be if you could just like slang a couple memes while you're watching your favorite show and, oh snap, I made some money. That's great. I was doing something that I would have done anyway for free. How cool would that be? So that's how we went into it. I think what's been really interesting is we've actually seen the platform evolve where people are actually starting trends hashtag trends. You talked about, Jabez talked about Mixed Thursday, all these types of things. Those have been the things that I actually picked up a lot of steam. So we've had to rethink like, okay, how can we do this in a way that's dope? So long-winded way of getting back to the answer of your question, I think 100% we're open to any formats, right? Like obviously short form video, vertical video, all those types of things are great. Live streaming's great. We want all of that on Spill, but we need to make sure that the ecosystem is in place so that you are rewarded from jump, and that we got to get right.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, I'm Terrell. I'm from LA and Washington, D.C. In looking at the sort of mass media landscape, whether it's sort of social media or traditional media, there seems to be a trend where, whether it's algorithms or it's a sort of top-down producer decision, there's a sort of incentive system that rewards division, misinformation, the most incendiary content possible. And sometimes that's relevant. Sometimes that does have a place. But at the same time, you can see how it poisons the discourse. And I'm wondering what kind of conversations you guys are having around that, how you're thinking about that. Because I think what you're doing and hearing you sort of describe your own personal experiences really, it is powerful and it really resonates. And I'm a very cynical person in my approach to social media, and I don't want to be cynical towards Spill. And I'm just, I'd love for you to speak on that it may just be a conversation as of right now.
No, that's great. Thank you for that question. We talk about it a lot. Literally, we had a very long, Kenny and I had a long discussion today about the moment right now. So what is social media in its essence, right? Like its most basic. It's a game. The game is followers, likes. My followers go up, my likes go up, things are good, right? Pretty much most platforms today more or less operate on that model. And I think that incentive basis, right, produces a blindness to what is being said, what is being shared. It could be good stuff, it could be bad stuff, but as long as the likes go up and the follows go up, we don't care, right? We can build a business around that. For us, what we've noticed is, especially for the younger generation, folks who are like 25 and under, who are just coming out of COVID, right, been locked in their houses for 3-4 years. I have a cousin, she didn't get to graduate high school and is not getting to graduate college either because of all the unrest on campuses now. And she's starving just to meet people, to connect people. So the most beautiful things that have happened on Spill to me to this point hasn't been like necessarily somebody got famous, but like 2 weeks ago, a couple that met on Spill got engaged. Like, we have Spill babies on the way. We have companies that have been founded. We have all this. Seriously, did we build Spill being like, oh, snap, it's about to be some Spill babies once they get this meme out, No. But I think that's so clearly the need because that generation never got a community building version of social where it was about making connections. They got algorithms, feeds, likes, follows, influence. It's very performative, right? So I think for us, to bring it to your question, the conversation is how can we build a system, a different game with different incentives that don't necessarily just amount to likes and follows, but like, how can I reward you for building community, for talking to this person, for responding to someone in a thoughtful manner, for hosting something, for participating, right? Every time somebody posts something, you give them a like. What do you get back? What if that was inverse? What if the participants, the stokers, the connectors actually got the points or rewarded for their behavior? These are the types of things we're talking about right now that I think is really exciting, and with the way technology is going, are much, much more feasible than they've ever been before. So, thank you.
So I just want to take the time to thank Phonz and the Spill team. What an amazing conversation. We just learned so much from how how you started Spill, your backstory. I mean, I can even relate, like playing sports in college, and after freshman year, kind of find your own way. And it's just amazing. And I think, being able to have the 1 year celebration, the 1 year birthday of Spill, we could provide that platform. That's amazing. We're so glad we could do that. A couple thank yous. I want to thank the Spill team. I want to thank Kenya for partnership and making this happen. I want to thank Philippe and House Coquette. This is a dope venue. Yes, round of applause. Fun fact, my partner in crime right here, Justin, got married here 7 months ago. So it's a very, very special place. I want to thank our Breaking Bread team, our amazing video team. This is our first time we've ever done live stream. I was like, you could just get your phone and you could just film, but you need like special cords and like speed, and I don't understand it, but thank you to our video team. Thank you, Natalia. She's our photographer. She's the newest member of Breaking Bread. She's social media extraordinaire. So our social media is about to be dope, so make sure you check us out. So I'll leave you with two things. One, you can't be in LA without doing a shameless plug. So on the tables, there's a QR code. We have our social media. We have our new website that we just launched today. So please check us out. We're really trying to focus on building community. I think Spill is such a great embodiment of that. We want to be able to connect with you guys here, but also outside of these events. So we may be doing stuff like hikes together, maybe going to games together, and I really think that's the importance of just breaking bread, kind of like our tagline. And the second thing is, there's merch over there. Please check out our merch. It's really cool. Spill also has some really cool stuff over there, so make sure you check it out. And yeah, this is our breaking bread portion. Have a drink, have some food, meet some of you don't know, and let's have a good night.
Thank you, brothers. One more time for these guys. Great job.